What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today, I'm going to get into the complete and utter abysmality that New York football is. Whether it's the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, or the Giants and Malik Neighbors talking post-game, or having to cut Daniel Jones. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang!
At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, let's get into the episode, and let's start with Gang Green, who has surprisingly turned out to be the worst Mets team in New York this year. I mean, the Mets started the season awful. In May, they were, 11 games under 500, and then they came back and got to the NLCS. The Nets haven't been terrible. They've been better than the Jets have this year. They're only like 2 or 3 games under 500. The Jets have been awful, and it's not even the fact that their record it's not good by any measure. They're sitting right now. The Jets, they're at 3-8, which sucks. But I mean, it's not that fact. It's the things that go on off the field. It's Aaron Rodgers coming into New York and taking the franchise. He has the franchise in the grasp of his hands. And this is exhibit A of why you don't let a player run your franchise and why you don't let him bring his buddies and bring in his offensive coordinator and bring in his wide receiver and Allen Lazard and Devontae Adams and bring in his coordinator again with Nathaniel Hackett. This is exhibit A of why you don't let that happen, because this is 2 years in a row. And I'll give you an excuse last year because you didn't have Aaron Rodgers. That's on Joe Douglas and Woody Johnson. They have to have a better backup plan at quarterback when they're employing a 39-year-old quarterback at the time. So they've got to be that I'm okay with. But this year, it's just been brutal. Rodgers is absolutely hurt. There's nothing in my mind that's going to change that. I mean, he looks hurt while he's playing. He's not playing very well. He looks pretty washed, honestly, and this has to be one of the biggest failures in New York sports history. I mean, you have the KD, Kyrie, James Harden Nets. You have some of those Yankee teams that were awful. You have the Carmelo Anthony Knicks that always sucked, or that were good in the regular season but didn't get past the second round. That was a team that should have. You have the 90s Knicks. That team, they couldn't get past Jordan, but they should have won in 94, 95. So but this Jets failure, this Aaron Rodgers tenure, it's right up at the top of the list. Aaron Rodgers has been brutal since coming to New York. It's been all talk. It's been all talk, all bark, no bite. He's done absolutely nothing since getting here. And just looking forward for the Jets at this point, because, I mean, I don't know what's left to play for this year. You're pretty much out of playoff contention, I would say. 3-8, you're not making the dance, especially with a loaded AFC this year. This offseason, I think it's going to be a clear house. It's going to be a clear house coaches-wise. You've already fired the general manager, but I think a lot of the players have to go too. I think Devontae Adams should be gone. Aaron Rodgers 100% should be gone. You just got to end this. It's not getting better. It's only going to get worse. And I don't see what the point in keeping him around is, especially with this quarterback class that is so deep. I mean, you have Cam Ward, Jalen Miller, who I don't think is going to be good. Shedeur Sanders, if it's pretty much out of reach to get the number 1 overall pick at this point. But Jackson Dart, Carson Beck, another overrated quarterback. Is DJ Lagaway this class? I don't think he is. I think he might be a freshman. Let me see here. Lagway, yeah, he's 19. He's the class. Let me see. I think he's a freshman. Yeah, he's a freshman. So, yeah, you're going to have to wait a year or two for DJ Lagaway. But still, there are a ton of other guys that are coming out of this draft that are going to be first-round picks. Um, I mean, I mentioned the quarterbacks, but the position players are really good too. Ashton Genty could declare for the draft, I believe, because he's a junior. He's wrapping up his junior year. Travis Hunter will be in the draft. I think Will Johnson will be in the draft as well. He'll be. Let me see. He's a junior, so yeah, he'll be there. There are a ton of options all around the field, and the Jets need help essentially everywhere. I mean, Sauce Gardner has taken a massive step back this year, and this Jets defense that was being compared to the 86 Bears, yeah, it's been awful. Like they just haven't contained receivers. They haven't dominated the running game. This defensive line that was supposed to be awesome. I mean, you had Hassan Reddick, you have Quinnen Williams, all these guys, and nothing's come of it. It's just been an absolute failure. There's no other way around it. The Jets this year were supposed to be atop of the league, make their first playoff appearance since however long it is, 11, 12 years at this point, and end this drought. But that they've done the opposite. They've gone backwards on so many different levels. They're gonna be looking for a new head coach now after just bringing in Robert Saleh 3-4 years ago at this point. I don't think Rex Ryan's the guy. I think he's too far out of the loop. He's too far out of the league. He hasn't had a job for too long to really be considered like a top head coach anymore. I don't think John Gruden's the answer either. I think he's out of it as well. I think he's like just out of the mix at this point. I think Ben Johnson's definitely the best option. The question, though, is he going to want to come to New York to coach a Jets team that is absolutely terrible? And it doesn't seem like there's anything looking up for them. Does he want to leave Detroit, where they're 11-1 at this point, and they're on top of the world, and it doesn't seem like anything's going to stop them. They're 10-1, but is he going to want to leave that team to come coach a Jets team? I get it's a head coaching job, but the state of the franchise, it would honestly be better to wait another year. If he's gonna have guys, he's gonna have offers from all around the league. So I think it's gonna be choosing the best offer. I believe he will be a head coach by the end of this offseason. But I don't think he goes to the Jets. I think that's the best option for the Jets and any other team looking for a head coach. But I don't know if Ben Johnson is going to want to come coach in New York, especially for the Jets, who are just not in a good place as a franchise. And then the other thing is the Jets are bringing in like a third party to help with their coach. The 33rd team is going to come in and help. And my thinking on it is I would rather the Jets wait until maybe, I don't know, mid to late March, and really make sure you're getting the right guy you want as a head coach, rather than picking your guy up late February, early March, and him being like really prepared for the draft. He knows exactly what he's going to do because he's been working with this front office. I would rather the head coach have a rough outline of what he wants to do in the draft, but have that head coach be the absolute right guy that's going to be your head coach for the next 10 to 15 years. Probably not that long, like 7 to 10 years, I would say. Whether it is a Bill Belichick or it is Ben Johnson or Brian Flores, I think those are the three guys. I don't know if Belichick's the answer. He's the wild card in that scenario. But definitely Brian Flores and Ben Johnson are really good options. Jets are in an awful spot. 3-8 right now. They should be losing out. Looking at their schedule, just because I do this way too much, they've got to play. They've got an easy schedule for the most part. They've got to play 2 tough matchups late in the year, really 3 with the Rams, Buffalo, and Miami. But their next 3 games are definitely winnable, but they're also very losable. The Jags are going to be a terrible team. They're not good. Miami's a good team. That's going to be a game where they're going to have to try to lose if they want to lose that one. And Seattle's also a good team. So they have some work. They don't have to do a ton of winning. It's pretty explainable if they lose out the rest of the way. Like all of these teams except Jacksonville are teams vying for a playoff spot right now. So the Jets could lose out and it be explainable. All right, let's move on to the Giants. Oh, the Giants. As I transition here, what team would you rather be a fan of at this point? I mean, the Giants. I would rather be a Giant fan right now because things are looking better for the future. It's more likely that the Giants have the number 1 overall pick, that the Giants will evaluate talent better and choose the right guy and surround their team with the right guys, just because I do think Joe Schoen is the better general manager. The Jets don't even have a GM right now. And Joe Schoen is going to be in his last ditch. Like, we have to win a couple games this year. We have to win 6-7 games if I want my job back next year, and if I want to continue to be the GM of the New York Football Giants. And that's the way Brian Daboll has to coach. Like, this year he can lose out, that's fine, but next year he has to be thinking, I have to win or I'm gone. I'm going to go back to being an offensive coordinator if we don't play at least solid this year. And the problem is, I think Tommy DeVito is going to mess around and win a couple games. But getting back to the question I said just a couple seconds ago, I would rather be a Giant fan because there's more upside next year. You could draft a young quarterback, and the team isn't expected to be good for a couple years. Like, they have time. They're younger. They have more talent. And I wouldn't say they have more talent, but they're in a better spot as a franchise, as opposed to the Jets, who are going to be looking for another head coach and general manager regime, going to be looking for a quarterback. The Jets have more important holes to fill. Yeah, the Giants have to find a quarterback, but everywhere else around there, it's serviceable. They could get by with it. All right, now let's really get into the Giants and Tommy DeVito. I think Tommy DeVito is going to mess around and win a game or two. I think it's going to be the worst thing that can happen to the Giants. It's going to be like winning that game against the Packers last year, where he leads a crazy drive. It's fun in the moment, but it ends up setting the franchise back at least a year or two. And if Tommy DeVito does it, you're going to be stuck with probably the 4th or 5th pick again. It's not a good situation. But say Tommy DeVito does what most Giants fans want him to do and loses out, and then the Giants end up with the top pick. I would look to not draft a quarterback. The things I would be looking for: trade back if you're going to get a big package, and at that point, you'd be looking for a quarterback. If you love a quarterback and you think he's going to be there, maybe 2nd, 3rd overall, you could trade back with a team who might want Travis Hunter, who I think will go number 1 overall. I think he's the most skilled player in this draft, and he's the most skilled right now. And he's saying that he's going to play both sides of the ball in the NFL. I don't buy into that. I don't think it's real. I think he'll end up playing either receiver or corner, whatever he may choose. It's really a toss-up at this point. But if you get the top pick, you should really consider taking Travis Hunter and waiting for maybe Arch Manning next year or one of the other quarterbacks that'll be coming up. Or you trade back to take Cam Ward or Jackson Dart, who will probably go probably 4th or 5th overall if I had to guess. But what I'm thinking is Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are absolutely going to do everything in their power to win next year. And as they should, the NFL is very unforgiving. So they have to win next year, like I've been saying over the past couple minutes here. So they're going to look for a quarterback, and Brian Daboll is going to look to have that quarterback as NFL ready as possible. And to me, that guy is probably Jackson Dart. He plays the most NFL ready style of football, the most stable style of football. He doesn't move around much. Yeah, he had 2 interceptions against Florida last week, but that's whatever. I mean, it's college football. I still believe in Jackson Dart. I think he's going to be the best quarterback out of this class. And he's the most NFL ready to me. Like, Cam Ward's going to take 2 or 3 years to develop. Shedeur Sanders isn't going to be good, period. Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe are both very overrated. Jalen Milroe especially. He is going to be absolutely awful in the NFL. He'll be in the XFL in 5 or 6 years. And Carson Beck, he might get a backup job somewhere, but that's whatever. But Giants, if they get the number 1 overall pick, they should trade back, or they should take Travis Hunter and then look for Arch Manning next year. Bring the Manning home. All right, let me get to some of Malik Neighbors' post-game comments after the loss, the 30, whatever it was, the bad loss to Tampa Bay. I mean, it's just not good. I mean, they're really awful. It was a 30-7 loss. Here's what Malik Neighbors had to say.
Go out there first, second quarter, don't get the ball, start getting targets at the end. I mean, can't do nothing. Start getting the ball when it's 30-0. What you want me to do?
Why in the first half are they not looking at you?
I don't know. Talk to Davis about that.
All right, that's enough. I don't like Malik Neighbors. I've said this earlier in the season. I said it. I talked about him going to the concert, talking too much in post games. He's got to mature as a player. And this stuff where he's throwing his teammates under the bus, where he's throwing his head coach under the bus, it's unacceptable. You're a New York athlete, and your team is awful. The New York Football Giants are 2-9. You cannot be saying stuff like this. This is an embarrassment to the franchise. And the thing is, he's got to say the right stuff. He's got to say the politically right stuff, even if he doesn't believe in it in this scenario. He cannot give the media fuel to not like him. But it is what it is, and he said it, and it's in the past. Let's listen to the other clip I want to play about him. Something he said.
Malik, did you expect the quarterback change to provide more of a spark than it did?
I mean, obviously, it ain't the quarterback. Same outcome when we had DJ at quarterback. I mean, take a look. It ain't the quarterback.
So what do you think? What is it?
I don't know what it is. Everybody know better than me.
All right, here we go. Here's throwing your teammates under the bus yet again. And your quarterback getting cut, that's the nature of the NFL. That's how that happens. You have to, this is his first time experiencing it. This is his rookie season. I get it. But he's going to learn quickly that the NFL is a tough business. And there is no forgiveness. It is a fast-paced league. If you don't win, you're going to get cut. You're going to be under fire. You're not going to succeed. You're going to hear it from the media. And it's just the nature of the league. It is what it is. It's not changing. And Daniel Jones getting cut was the right move for the Giants. And this is throwing shade at Tommy DeVito, which I don't like. Because you got to play with him for the next what? You already had your bye. You played 11 games. So you got 6 more games with him. I get you're probably not going to play with him ever again unless Joe Schoen decides to bring him back for one more year, which I don't want to happen. I'm done with the Tommy DeVito hype train. It was good for last year, but I don't like it now. But on the Malik Neighbors side of things, you have to know that. I think somebody's got to be telling him in the locker room to say the right stuff. And Brian Daboll said he talked to him on Sunday night, so I wonder what that conversation was about. But like I said, I don't like Malik Neighbors. I'm not a fan of him. I don't think he was the right pick. At 6 overall, I would have rather gone. I think, was Joe Alt still available there? But if he was, I would have picked Joe Alt. I think at the time, Malik Neighbors was the right pick. I did like Rome Odunze better. I know it was a little bit high to take him, but it's what it is. You can't go back and change that. It's talking about stuff that already went down. But yeah, Daboll's got to keep talking to him, keep pulling him aside before he goes and does these post-game press conferences. Because he's supposed to be the Giants' top dog, and the media wants to hear from him. He's just got to say better stuff. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you want to have your questions and your takes, sports-related, played on the Sports Pod, leave me a voicemail at 848-305-8073. Really appreciate the love I've been getting on the voicemail. Make sure you check out all my links down in the description below, all my socials. And if you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and following. I really appreciate it. And most importantly, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.